Third one, so first, Russell Wilson, the Seahawks quarterback. So his team wins the Super Bowl, and he happened to play for the Thunder, the Trenton Thunder, right? When the Thunder win the NBA Finals, coach thinks that's odd. We're looking at Kurtwood Larson Smith from that 70s show because he's Red Foreman, right? George Foreman died. Red Sanders gives us Shedeur Sanders, Dion, etc. Right, so we're looking sideways at him. Think it's interesting. He was in a show called Patriot, right? Of course, the Patriots were just in the Super Bowl. Now, also major, that could be like Major League. Coach is curious if the Indians are going to make a deep run. Maybe they change their name here soon. 313th Troop, that's Detroit's area code. We got the Lions winning the Super Bowl over the Browns, right? So, Coach found some things that looks good for the Indians. We'll get there in a minute, but they're kind of down the list. Coach having a tough time with baseball, tough time with hockey, tough-ish time with college basketball. I feel pretty good about Kansas, but I could feel better. And college football next year with Pitt over Bama. I could feel a bit better there. But as far as the Sixers Clippers, that feels really good. I did put one bet in that was Sixers Suns, just because of the Miles Bridges and Charles Barkley thing. Like if it is some weird Charles Barkley ritual with Saquon, etc., I don't want to be out. So I definitely want to say that I saw that one coming. You got like hundreds of, I think there's like 500 different combinations, putting one extra one in as insurance. Definitely isn't a cardinal sin. In fact, if we did that the whole time, we'd already be rich. So that's how Coach is going to start rolling a bit more with a tiny bit more insurance. And let's see, what else do we got? So the Patriot, the movie, came out just in time for 9/11 and Tom Brady's big run, right? Heath Ledger, they kill him off, make it a big sob story. You can always bring this movie up. Gibson, that made Coach think of Gibbs, right? So you got the Lions running back. Let's see, anything big in this? So here's a team. Is this Gary Payton? I don't know how I made this big jump. Payton with the Pacers. That's really annoying. But anyways, I was more concerned, I think, that Coach saw that the Birmingham squadron of the G League used to be the Bayhawks. Coach is going with the Grand Rapids Gold. But, this team used to be the Hawks, and you got the Seahawks. There could be something there. Alfred. This is Alfred Payton. So Coach was thinking like Elf, Brownie the Elf, right? I was like, what the hell's up with Alfred Payton? Like, how's that tie in the Magic? That's stupid. What do you know? He was drafted by the Sixers. And, he was just of the Puerto Rican League, right? We think Portugal, right? And, Bad Bunny just hosted the Super Bowl. And Coach is really hot on port cities right now. So they were the Mad Ants. Thought that was weird. Let's see. So Sixers, they paid $25 million in luxury tax. So nice that, we got them win the 2025 season. That's a number we would like. They also, of course, had the 25-game suspension. Ben Simmons was number 25. He's 29 years old. That's a 26 flip. He won't turn 27 until after the season. So that's good. And even then, we think they're going to go back-to-back. So that works for us either way. Let's see. There was The Artful Dodger about Oliver Twist. So the Dodgers win the World Series back-to-back right after this, and Oliver Miller dies. So check out Ryan Allen Iverson here. First of all, with the Duper's Delight for sure. Allen spelled out. Like, why wouldn't he just be Ryan Iverson? Is there so many fucking Ryan Iversons around there? They got to avoid the confusion. Like, somehow throwing Allen Iverson in there makes it more, I'm glad it's not my Ryan, right? You've just known so many Iversons in your life. Not they don't exist, but it's not super common, right? So thought that was funny. Of course, 76th birthday. Why not, right? And then September 9, so 9/9, you flip that as 6/6, right? So you can kind of know it's a bit of a joke just from that. So Iverson, I didn't cover this story, but Iverson was getting backlash about something to do with cancer kids, which is hilarious, right? Everybody's going to look to throw shade at the cancer kids. I heard his explanation, and it sounded perfectly reasonable to me. Like, they act like basically he wasn't in charge of any of it, and he was there the whole day doing stuff for charities. Like, if these kids got snubbed, it was the people running the charity's fault that not getting them in to see him sooner. Like, I was here shaking hands, doing autographs all day. How's this my fault? Right, basically. right? So made perfect sense. It wasn't like, so I'm like, oh, I just wasn't feeling good or whatever. He's like, I don't even understand how this happened. What are they talking about? Right? So $62,000 Wheel of Fortune fail, right? Of course, 62, flip it, it's 26, year 2026, big gag. Because, of course, game shows are real. They told you that with Quiz Show. If you believed game shows were real after watching Quiz Show, that's on you. So Life of Chuck came out. We got the Bubba Chuck stuff, etc. Coach watched this movie. It was pretty trippy. Stephen King movie. I didn't even realize that. Now, let's see. I took this. I saw, because I zoned right in on Mark Hamill. I was like, he keeps popping up. What's going on with old Luke Skywalker? Luke Skywalker. Okay, because of maybe David Skywalker Thompson. Isn't that his name? I'm pretty sure he was a Nugget. We got the Sixers Nuggets next year. Could be something there. That might be what it is. Okay, so... Wait, hold on. So Chuck and Janice help Taylor. So Chuck Taylor joke right here in this Chuck movie. Crush on Cat McCoy. Made me think of maybe Shady McCoy, Colt McCoy. Good luck, Chuck. The numbers seemed weird. It was like 2007. Nothing too exciting. Nothing too exciting about the people. Although I think Brandon Cook made it pretty deep, if not to the Super Bowl this year. He might have got cooked a little early. Of course, he was on the Patriots team, lost to the Eagles before, but they got a budget of $25 million. Was pretty much what we like here with Good Luck Chuck. So that gives us a 25. I didn't look too deep because I found this. Cleveland fire, large wildfire in El Dorado County. So El Dorado isn't the gold thing, right? And the Niners. Oh shit, dude! Niners hosting the Super Bowl when Todd Golden wins. That's a Gold Rush joke. Okay. Rush, isn't there like a Chicago Rush or something? That's one to think about. Definitely look into Rush or teams by Rushmore, shit like that. So this happened in 92, so that's a flip of 26. We've got a big fire in Cleveland giving the Guardians/Indians their boost. We think the Cuyahoga's got to set on fire during a blood moon. Coach hasn't checked the blood moon this year, but I think it's every other year. So we should be good because it was year before last, if I recall, when we liked them the most. Now, as far as reasons to besides this, right? So you got the 92 thing in September 29. There's a 26. Non-fatal injury 72. That could be a 27 possibly. Not quite sure, what's going on. We don't have a hard window on the Indians, unfortunately. 25,000 feet. 25 helicopters. Coach, looking at this book of Clarence, because think of the book of Eli, and then Elijah right there. I know it's a biblical name, but still. So they also had Zeke. Maybe think of Zeke Elliott, and that's like Elliott, the Eagles kicker, right? So his middle name's Elijah, which I thought was very interesting, right? And I was like, well, what is he going to come to the Browns? We could use a little bit of depth at running back. I know he's not he's washed up or whatever. But if you're just talking like a minimum contract guy, veteran presence, you could probably do worse than Zeke as an energy guy. Giving you his last bit. He's got in let's see, so he played for the Patriots. They were just in the Super Bowl. He played for the Buckeyes. That's a good reason to go to the Browns. 225. Oh, so Coach thought it was interesting. With James Vanderbeek, everybody talks about Dawson's Creek and Varsity Blues. His best movie is Angus by a mile. That's the only loss there. To be honest, everything else he did sucked. I think I took that for somebody else. Oh, wait, no, I wanted to show y'all. Right, so Coach's Trevor Moore video he did this year passed the one from 3 years ago, 37 views instead of 28,000, so we feel good about that. This was weird, reason like the Indians possibly. They signed Wayne Garland, right? So we got Darius Garland on Darius Miles' team and Tyrese Maxey from Garland, Texas. Oh, Coach wants to spoil his. He put it in a post, but we like Norman Powell winning the 3-point contest. Maxey doesn't look like a 3-point contest guy to me. I think he's gonna have that Iverson problem where it's more he's like an in rhythm guy. He doesn't really just pick up balls and put them straight into the. That's not really. He's not a catch and shoot guy, really. So I think that's gonna hurt him. It could be the same to be said for Powell. I don't really know his style all that much, to be honest with you. We're just banking on the Norman thing. And then Powell kind of sounds like a bang with all the bomb stuff. So, he was on the Clippers. So it's just enough to. It's super long shot too, so we'll feel really good if we get it. So I was like, okay, we'll go really long shot here, and then on the dunk contest, we'll just go with the favorite because his name's Carter Bryant. I mean, Vince Carter, Kobe Bryant. That screams dunk contest, and he's the favorite. We're just gonna roll with that, not overthinking it. And then so Garland here, he was also with the Orioles. Coach found a weird possible angle here that might have nothing to do with the Guardians. So first of all, this dude's turning 76 this year, October 26th. That's a 2026 for us. So this guy only played for 2 teams, the Orioles and the Indians, right? So it's like, well, is it one of them? Well, we know the Orioles have the history with the Indians, and we don't like the Indians until they're called the Indians. So if they are actually rolling into the season as it looks with the Guardians, we got to look elsewhere. You know, we like the Angels a little bit. We like the Nationals a little bit. Very long shots, though. Might be a bit more realistic. Don't forget, Coach picked the Brewers to go to the World Series last year. Super long shot. Everybody said that one was crazy, right? Made it all the way just short, lose to the team that wins the whole World Series in the NLCS. So they were right there. Could they maybe get a tiny bit further and lose to the Orioles because the Orioles just so happened to be the Brewers way, way back in the day, in the late 1800s to 1901, right? So it became the St. Louis Browns in 1902. Of course, the Browns, that's a good joke for us, right? If we got the Browns going all the way. Then they opened their park in 92. That's a 26 flip. 1902, they got a fold in there. That's a 26 flip. Okay, something about the Yankees? The Birds, right? Seahawks just won, and the Eagles before that. So, yeah, this dude played for the Brewers, the Browns, and the Orioles. Wait. Oh, no, this is the Orioles. The Orioles were the Browns and the Brewers, sorry. And so they got 3 titles. None particularly awesome for us, it doesn't seem, right? Like, I don't know, at 66 or 7. Oh, wait, hold on. No, that would be 10 years from now. Yeah, I mean, I'm not seeing anything awesome, right? Like 43. Yeah, I mean, the numbers aren't really doing it for me, except, like I said, their numbers, if they're not from the championship, if it's from, like, you know, their history, which happens, then they're there. But championship numbers don't look great. Brooks Robinson. So, and I mean, like, it could be some joke. Like, we would also want to know, like, how many years were they in the league? You know, we'd have to do a little bit of math for each to make maybe the jokes that way, right? So, but Brooks Robinson, that makes Coach think of Brooke Lopez, who we got losing. We also got the Brook Park Browns losing. I had other books just popping in my head. Now I forgot them, so who cares? So I thought it was weird just going to the betting. It's like the first thing that pops up is Orioles. They got Orioles, Brewers right there. Not crazy long odds, you know, compared to something like the Marlins or the Cubs or whatever. But still pretty long. Thought this was funny. It's just a continuation of what we did before. 1 second.
Cosnester Smith, Rutgers University.
Ellipses Quarter, University of Alabama.
Narquilus Dillwide, LSU.
Bismo Funyuns, Florida State University.
Decathlon Mango, Georgia Tech University.
Margaret Troy Skittle, University of Louisville.
Chrysler Todd Business, University of Tennessee.
DePage Poopshe, Ole Miss.
Quackadilly Blip, Auburn University.
Julius Boozler, the U.
Miskatine Trisket, University of Michigan.
Far Trail Cluggins, University of Arkansas.
Blaron, Blanchington, Syracuse.
Cartoons plural, Virginia Tech.
Jammy, the Ohio State University.
Fudge.
So yeah, that's what Coach sees whenever they do the intros. So looking over Coach's picks, college hoops still feel best about Kansas. NHL, the Sharks, that one actually, what did we end up going with? Man, the Ducks are scaring the hell out of me. Like, as weird as that seems, like, it might not be the Angels, it might be the Ducks. There's a lot, I mean, we didn't get the Oregon Ducks in there. Doesn't seem like a lot of places to fit them. Coach is also looking at the Frozen Four. And, we would want a Michigan team winning anyways, but it's like a Michigan team basically wins every single year. So we've got our work cut out for us because there's like 4 of them in the top 25. There's like Western Michigan, who won it last year. You got Michigan State, which is the Spartans, they're number 1. And, we got the Portsmouth Spartans winning. So we would want them to win a title somewhere. So we wouldn't be mad at all if the Michigan State Spartans win. But Michigan Tech is sitting there at 25 or 20th. They only do top 20 in hockey. They're sitting there at 20th, and they won in 62. So I like Michigan Tech or Michigan State. That's my 2 favorites there. For the Frozen Four, like I said, NHL is pretty squirrely, but Seals or Ducks would definitely make me happy. Or, we got reasons to like the Sabres, other teams too. Blackhawks, I'd be happy if the Blackhawks make it, but they're a way long shot at this point, and they could just do it next year, and I'd be just as happy. Angels over Braves/Nationals. We talked about other teams we could like, right? But this is still probably my favorite. Backup would be Orioles, Brewers, or something to do with the Guardians. It could even be Guardians, Brewers, right? Maybe that's good enough for the Orioles. Maybe that whole thing's just for the Brewers, has nothing to do with the Orioles. Right, it's just to let you know the Brewers and Guardians is actually going down this year, which this coach predicted last year. So it could be. We need to know what's going on with the big gambling stuff. Of course, we got Rocky Colavito dying. That was a big part of the curse going. Now we've got something to do with gambling going on with us. We lost some of our best players to it. Now, NFL Lions, Browns, that's not going anywhere. I'm not even going to think of a remotely backup pick. You're not even going to get like, the Lions could beat this team. Nope, Lions, Browns, period. If I'm wrong. Who cares? So, let's see. College football. Like I said, Pitt, Bama, I don't have anybody that I feel better about. That Portugal, Argentina, that's just like Lions, Browns. That's not going anywhere. So you can get used to seeing Portugal, Argentina. There's no way they got anything better. And specifically, Portugal's beating Brazil on the way. If it's not Portugal, Argentina, it's Portugal beating Brazil, but it doesn't actually matter because you can't do exact matchups in World Cup. You just pick the winner. So Portugal, all that matters. UFL Aviators over Stallions. It's a tough league, even though there's so few teams. They're all like teams you would want to look at, and it's really tough to do my defenders dirty, but it's one of those situations. Even though they kept their coach, they gave me my win last year. I wouldn't be mad to see them win, but I think the Aviators popping in is a little too suspicious. And, the Stallions are a good mark, although the UFL, that one Stallions team, the Alouettes or whatever, they're low key. So maybe it could just be Aviators defenders. That would be my backup pick. FA Cup, Birmingham City. WNBA Dream over Storm. Canadian Football League Blue Bombers versus Alouettes. Not sure which way I want it to go. NASCAR, I feel much different about. Bush and Gibbs would still be on like the short list, like in the top 5, but we would want the Ford guys ahead of those. Blaney and that Todd Gilly, whatever. Todd, we'll just call him Todd Gilly. Truck Series, Frankie Muniz, no backup coach. Appreciate you. Hope you enjoy.